Hey, everybody, welcome to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 34. We're here with former Buchanan Bear, Mitch Karraker, currently with Baylor Baseball. Can you talk about Buchanan Baseball? '06, you guys win a Valley title. Kind of, that perception of everybody that had, they have this certain hatred for Buchanan. We kind of talked about it a little bit ago. And what that was like playing for Tom and how he, brought out the best with you guys and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area. So I was born in Mountain View, went to a real small Christian school, maybe 30 kids in my class. And then we moved to the Clovis School District my 8th grade year, and my eyes were just totally wide open. Tons of kids. Athletics were just off the charts. And growing up from then on, it really took me some time to be like, okay, I belong here. Because just the quality of the players, the quality of the institutions that we were competing against was pretty special. When I got to Buchanan, I was an infielder, and then my junior year, Coach Donald asked if I wanted to catch, and I said, sure, wherever can get me in the lineup, I'd love to catch. And the one thing that Coach Donald did more than anything was just teach me how to work. I didn't really going there and being gone for so long, I never knew the perception of everybody hating Buchanan or being jealous of Buchanan or whatever.
That's probably a better word.
Jealous, right? Yeah. Because of all that winning we've been doing.
Yeah, that's it.
But no, I mean, Coach Donald was great in instilling work ethic and just doing things the right way on and off the field. I appreciated that from him. He had a great staff. Eric Lewis, when I was a JV player, really helped me understand the intricacies of the game, how to base run properly, the proper fundamentals in terms of my defensive work and my offensive work, and how to go about that the right way. That was kind of the start of his success, that 05 team that won it, and then our 06 team that won it. Really, I felt like catapulted him into, what was known as, the dynasty for a long time.
He'd gotten there. He just hadn't won it yet.
Right.
I think he had a few, 3 in a row. He lost to James and finally got it in 05.
Yeah. And so, I was with a great group of guys in 06 with Kyle Smith and Jace Brown, just some older guys that really showed us the way when we got up there. And it was a special year.
Was the talk to go back-to-back, or like you guys want to do your own thing, like you're your own team now, or like we're feed off that, or...
the
goal's to win, but...
Yeah, it was never hey, we're going back-to-back kind of thing. It was always from the start of the fall, this is a new year, this is a new team. We had lost some guys from that previous team in 05 that were key pieces, and guys like Steven Miranda was huge on the mound for us. Shane Funk was a good part of that. JT... Truitt was a big part of that. Just that, my group coming up, we were just kind of filling spots around Kyle Smith and Jace and those other guys that were up there. And we wanted to create our own legacy in terms of, okay, this is the 06 team. This is different than the 05 team, and we're going for the same mission, but it's a different look.
It's kind of... But out of high school, was City just where you were going, or did you have options beyond that?
I had options. NAIA, Division III, so Concordia, Point Loma. I went and visited those schools, the Masters in Santa Clarita. Those were my options. They gave me a little bit of scholarship money. It sounded like a really good option. Coach Scott had come to a couple of our games, and we had talked a little bit, and really just sat down with my family and decided that my goal was to play Division I baseball, and the best way to do that was to go to City College. I wasn't getting any calls. I wasn't ready out of high school to go D2 even, or D1, but that goal was still in my mind, and so I wanted to give that a chance, and so I went to City and was fortunate enough to have a good year, and timing was right, and Oregon showed up, and I was able to move on from there.
How was Ron Scott? How was that experience?
Different than Coach Donald, for sure, but in a good way. He was really good for me. A player's coach, totally different than what I had been used to at Buchanan. Still a great baseball guy. Taught me a lot about Just another level of the small details of the game. From first and thirds, bunties to how to hit properly in the cages, how to go about your defensive work in a way that's going to prepare you for the game, and really just push me to better myself and raise my expectations. I remember one game we were at Porterville, and Porterville wasn't very good, and I ended up getting 3 hits right away, and then my next 2 at-bats were just terrible, awful, just totally gave them away. And after the game, he said, it's okay to get 5 hits in a game. It's all right. And I know you had a good day, you caught well, whatever, but it's okay to get 5 hits. You don't have to just settle for 3. And that really changed my perception of, okay, what are my goals, going into it on a daily basis? And are my expectations where they need to be, or am I settling?
If he hadn't said something, do you think you would have reflected back on that day as
not at all
a 3 for 5 solid?
Yeah, I would have been happy. Probably not even think about it going on the bus ride home.
It's kind of like, don't let the scoreboard dictate how you're going to play or finish the game.
Exactly. There's one way you're going to play the game.
That's it.
Consistently. So.
That's how you should do. Any stories being a catcher? Any mountain visits you remember that that you can share?
That I can share? Well, not too many of those, but no. Coach Scott had a good way of coming out, and usually when he came out, it wasn't a good thing. Coach Solberg would usually come out, and
even Solberg,
yeah, Sully would come out, and both of them at the right time would crack a joke or make a comment about one of the other players or something like that, just to keep the guys loose. But most of it was just trying to manage the game and manage the emotions of the game, because the team that we had at City was extremely competitive, and most of the guys on the mound were usually over the top competitive, and so it was more just toning them down in their own special way, I guess is the best way to put it.
Speaking of Coach Solberg, congratulations on another state championship, doing big things. Both sides of it. Like, was there adjustment, like something you had to oh man, this, from Buchanan to City, it's like, oh, this isn't high school anymore.
Mm-hmm.
From City to D1 Oregon, like, oh, this isn't junior college anymore.
Yeah, weight training was the biggest eye opener. You show up, you're going to weights at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and it's regimented for you, and it's a specific program, and it's specific to you and your position, and the way that we lift and the intensity that we lifted with was just totally different than what I had been used to at City and at Buchanan.
And then in practicing too, like when you guys are on the field, it's not, I know some people think, oh, it's, we're going to go hitting the cages, do individuals. I remember going down to Fullerton and seeing a damn near 8-hour practice.
Yeah. So at Oregon, we were on the quarter system, so we didn't start school until end of September. And so we would show up early. And when you show up early and you don't have school, there's unlimited hours basically. So we would show up in the morning, practice in the morning, have lunch, lift, and then do a practice in the afternoon. We did that for 2 straight weeks. And so I was out at the field for 10 hours a day, which I wasn't used to at all. And it was different because we would take an hour, 2 hours a day to just do chalk talks. So Coach Horton would just get up on the chalkboard or the grease board, whatever he had, and write out bunt defenses, write out alignments, write out first and thirds, and then we would go do it. And then we would come back and debrief, do it all over again. And so doing that repetitive, and then just a little detail part of it. Okay, where do you stand, right? How far away from the bag are you? When do you move? The timing of all the plays.
All the little details.
Total little details. And that's kind of what his programs were built on.
And then how'd that, with school, and setting up, doing your academics and being, a D1 athlete, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, once school started, then it was, felt like 15-hour days. You'd have weights in the morning, go to class, maybe grab a bite to eat, go to practice. After practice, you'd have tutoring until 8 o'clock at night. So, I mean, you didn't have a lot of time for social hour. It was an eye-opener, and it was good. And we had a ton of support there with academic help and tutoring and that kind of stuff. But you're also there. You're there to compete and win a starting spot. And that was the biggest thing. I think after my first year was, okay, now I understand what the system is like and how important time management is in terms of, okay, we can only practice with you guys for 20 hours a week. Now I need to do the other stuff on my own in order to win a spot on the team.
Now, how much of the team did that together?
It was hit or miss. You know, a lot of the hitters stayed together and the pitchers did their own thing. That's kind of how it works. And then it was also based on class schedule, tutor schedule, that kind of stuff. I mean, we always had access to cages or the facility if we needed to throw or work on defense and that kind of stuff. Guys just kind of got in when they could, and people gravitated towards each other. So you had small groups that would work out together.
Brings back memories.
The school stuff?
No, the baseball.
Being with your boy. Well, you talked about it too, just being in the cages.
I mean, we were small D1, so we didn't, the hours thing didn't really, like nobody was coming to Oral Roberts to check if we were, you know, doing the hours. So our coaches were there pretty much all the time. But yeah, just being with the boys and getting extra hacks. And I mean, our head coach would stay down in the cage and throw curveballs for like an hour or two. I mean, they're not supposed to, but that's what you did because we weren't practicing, but we were still getting our work in. But yeah, time management was key. And for not being a school person that I was, that was a big kick in the butt, you know, because you had to get good grades to play. I mean, anywhere but college level, you know, more so. And yeah, with the tutoring and all that, it's just, I'm right back there right now.
Yeah.
It was not easy.
You did? Okay, now I'll take another guy.
Kind of networking starts. You kind of start to
Yes.
build relationships. And your brother played on that team?
He did.
Was that when he first got up? Like, because you coached him at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So was that his first year out of high school?
So he was at City, and I needed some filler players. So him and Michael Tittle, I think one other kid came up from City and played, and that was a blast. And he played, and he ended up having a pretty good year. And Coach Horton called me in the middle of the summer and said, "Hey, I see your brother's doing pretty good." And so it ended up working out that Jack decided he wanted to walk on at Oregon. Coach said, "Sure, yeah, no problem." And I think Jack hit for like one day. And they said, "No, that's not what you're going to do here." So he ended up being a pitcher and ended up doing pretty good.
That's pretty. How was that to coach him through his D1 career?
It was crazy. We lived together for 1 year. And so that was challenging in itself because I'm on one side of the ball and he's on the other. And, you know, being in the coach's offices, it was difficult to separate the fact that he's my brother and I want him to do well. And I think he's a good player and he can compete. But also in the whole scheme of things, is he going to help our team? And is it what is best for the team to voice my opinion in that way? So it was challenging in some ways, but it was also a lot of fun. Our relationship grew in a unique way, which was really fun. I think he had a good experience up there, and he ended up pitching quite a few innings for us. Not so much because he had really good stuff, but he could really compete. He was a grinder and could put the ball pretty much wherever he wanted with 2 or 3 pitches. And just that competitive mentality was something we needed at that time.
I think that's kind of what you want too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we see a lot of guys, and we it's kind of something we're going to talk about another day. But you're seeing these guys just throw the ball as hard as they can into a net.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dylan Lee said something last night on Twitter about, you know, it doesn't mean you can throw strikes.
That's right.
You know, and I was like, that's perfect. This is the perfect answer to what everybody was talking about at that, you know, that conversation. And I think that's, you know, that's important. You know, I mean, you may not have the 94-mile-an-hour fastball, but that guy might not be getting outs. You know, and I think some kids need to hear, hey, you can throw 86, 87, 88 and get outs. You know, you may be more in line to pitch than somebody else that's not.
Yeah.
You know, as a college coach, you know, is that something that a high school kid could take with him now? Absolutely,
yeah. I mean, we like guys that throw hard, obviously. But But we've had multiple guys in my coaching career that they throw plenty hard. They throw 95, 96, but they don't know where the ball's going. So at what point am I going to be able to put you in the game? I can't put you in with anybody on base. You're just going to let them run around, all around the bases. And I can't put you in a spot with nobody on, with a dangerous hitter up. You're just going to walk that guy. You're pretty much limiting your opportunities to mop up innings when you throw hard and you don't know where it's going.
Do you think that there's, and again, I don't want to sound like I don't believe in some of the science. I do. But I think
everybody's putting such an emphasis on throwing hard. But there's so many people that throw hard. It's not that hard for a hitter anymore. Mm-hmm. So going from pro ball and seeing guys throw 95, 90, 95, 96, 97, okay, I'm seeing it every day. Mm-hmm. You bring in that guy throwing 88, now that's tough because he's throwing slower and he's got movement.
Mm-hmm. And he's locating.
So I think there's so many guys that want to throw hard. I want to throw hard. I want to throw hard. Why don't you work on location and movement? I feel like as a hitter, it's a lot easier to hit hard straight.
Yes.
Than slower moving.
Yes. Yeah. You see it in the big leagues these days. They're spinning more breaking balls than they ever have. And the guys are throwing harder than they ever have. So why is that? It's because everybody can hit a fastball. All those guys up there can hit a fastball. That's awesome.
Now, there might be a job opening in Fresno in the next couple years. You do have your master's degree.
I do.
Is that in any way appealing to you?
Which job are you talking about?
Fresno City College.
You think Coach Scott's done?
I'm just saying in the next...
I think after talking to him, I think... he's going to get that record
within this year, next year.
And he's got nothing to prove. What does he have to prove? He's longevity, wins, talent. I mean, just because the state championships aren't there.
I'm not saying it's going to happen soon, but you being a guy from here.
Would that job interest you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great job.
Because I've told people too, like you're going to have some really good assistant D1 coaches.
Yes.
Going for that job.
Yeah.
Let alone just some of the coaches around here. Yeah. And I don't know how much input Ron would have on that, but
I'm sure some. But I just thought young, from the area, knows the area.
Played there.
Been at 2 Power 5 schools, been around, even though you can't recruit, you've been around recruiting, and I'm sure you
the
sit
camps
in on meetings and do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So you know that.
Right.
Plus, it's a good paying job, and it's not going to get fired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a good job. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in it. I know Coach Scott, and I know he's a competitor, and I'm sure he'd want to go out on top. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that. I just wanted to see where you stood on when that job does happen.
Yes.
Because I know your father-in-law is Eric Solberg, and
Yes.
Everybody talked about him maybe stepping into that, and which wouldn't be bad at all. But I just feel like with how he's doing with soccer, I feel like he would still want to do soccer and be the pitching coach still.
Right.
For whoever might come get that job or whatnot. But
would he want to run 2 programs that require a lot of attention?
And they might not let him do that either.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like he likes where he's at. But I just wanted to know where you stood with it, because for me, being a local guy, I would love to see somebody that knows the program but has the experience you do.
Right.
It's not just some local high school coach that played for Fresno City.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, the high school coaching around here has gone down. And the players have gone down, and the ability around here. And I feel like just taking a high school coach to the JUCO won't bump that level up to stay where Fresno City's been. And I feel like a guy like you that's been at the college level to come back where you know everything, and you've been at that high level to compete for a national championship every year, that would be great for the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have a problem.
Plus, if you need a hitting coach.
Fine. See, I was waiting for you to work that in there. Sneaky guy. No, I don't think they're gonna have a problem with candidates.
No, I don't think so
Not at
either.
all.
But it's about the fit for our area.
Sure, but I think they'll all be quality.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they're not gonna hire some scrub. At least I don't think. That'll be an interesting.
That's going to be the biggest job
Yeah,
that's
it's gonna
ever
be
happened
huge.
since
Like
Bennett.
you said, there's going to be D1 assistants. that
Yeah,
are gonna want that
I
job.
totally
Yeah.
think so. I don't see why there wouldn't
Because
be.
the pay raise and stability.
Yeah, and you're home every night. The recruiting aspect that's going on nowadays at D1 is unbelievable. That we're talking to 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds.
We talked to was it I think it was Eager was talking about, like, I forget who we talked to, but they were saying, there's only a handful of schools that don't have to fly anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to leave home to go recruit. You're in Southern California, you really don't have to go too far.
Right.
But like we talked about in Oregon, you see Oregon and you see Oregon State and you see the Ducks and the Nike, and you're like, man, they probably just get anybody they
It
want.
recruits itself.
But the state of Oregon for baseball is good, but it's not the caliber of a Power Five.
Correct.
Not all.
Right.
There are some guys.
Right.
So for Oregon, you're having to go to California, Texas, Midwest, Nevada, all the
Yeah.
trying to stay over here. Hawaii, you have
Yeah.
guys from Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I think it's harder for a school like where he came from, Oregon. Now I think at Baylor it's going to be a little better. You're in Texas,
Yep.
which Texas and California, Florida, best baseball,
Right.
states in the country. But you also will work up north because Midwest baseball is really good.
Yeah.
It is. It's a different
Underrated?
It's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different player that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that California has.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the player's a little tougher. And I'm sure you've seen a little bit of that
Oh.
of the guys you have at Baylor.
Yeah.
That there's more of a
Blue collar.
of an FU kind
Yeah.
of behind their mentality of it's not about I'm at Oregon now. It's about F all the guys that didn't want me.
Right.
I just feel like that Midwest player's kind of that.
Definitely. Yeah. They're country boys
Yeah.
who come from hardworking families. And 85% of our roster is Texas kids. And so our guys are home a lot more than what we think. And
And they kind of pledge their allegiance. They They kind of know as a kid,
yeah.
we don't do that Texas orange. We don't do that Texas Tech
Yeah.
black. They know where they're kind of going within their own state. It's a little different here, I think.
There's way more rivalries in the state of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, at Oregon, it was just Oregon and Oregon State and UW probably. We didn't like UW very much, but and once I got to Baylor, I was like, okay, who's our rival? Well,
Everybody.
Everybody. All pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Keep grinding, dude. I hope something comes from it. I hope you get rewarded because you definitely deserve that.
Thanks.
You put in your time.
Yeah, no, for sure. You paid your dues, and that'd be cool. That city job. Just saying. I think that's. I think Chad's onto something there with the younger guy.
You're
and,
damn right I am.
Yeah, I don't say that often.
And my voice comes back.
I don't say Chad's on. I don't say it often. But Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you guys
this
too.
is our Christmas episode, and
It'll come out after Christmas.
it will come out after Christmas. But Merry Christmas. You guys have a good holiday. Safe trip going back home.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for doing this, everybody. That is episode 34. Mitch Karraker, the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or die.